Okay, thanks for joining today for Scribe Training. What we'll do is for the first part, we will use a mock agenda to simulate scribing. And then after that, we will go through the exercise of publishing minutes, and that will be a live demo. Okay, so I am in IRC. So in general, let's see. Okay, what happens when we start a call is we start with the agenda. So one of the chairs, that would be me, Christopher, Joe, will type agenda in here. And so at this link, you'll see the email I just sent, which is basically the training agenda, which includes the mock agenda for scribing. So just for the purpose of doing sort of a realistic call and walking through the various parts, I'll just do a first pass using this mock agenda. So first one, IP note, anyone can participate. If you've not agreed to the group's policy, we cannot consider substantive contributions. Queuing in IRC, we use IRC type Q+ to add yourself to the queue. If you're not on IRC, simply ask to be put on the queue, and please be brief so the rest of the queue can have a chance to chime in. Okay, connections and check and scribe selection. I'm going to pick a scribe. Normally I would go to this group, but what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to set myself as the scribe. So to do that, I type scribe Kim HD, which is my alias. So in general, you know, if it were Sam, I would type scribe Sam_Chase. While we're here, I don't know if I'll get this successfully showing on my screen as well, but let's see. Let me see if I can bring this up. Okay, I'm pulling up the IRC commands that you can use while I'm going. So when I'm scribing, a relevant area is down here. Generally, the scribe is entering these commands, but also the chairs may write them as well. So I think usually you'll see the chair write this, and then, you know, either the chair might write this as well, the scribe. The key part of scribing is this alias text part. So now I'm going to, I did a quick tangent there while I'm at the connections check and scribe selection. So what I did was I selected myself as scribe, and to do that, I just typed scribe Kim HD. Okay, the agenda will be that we're going to do introductions and reintroductions. So, okay, this is going to be very atypical. So I'm scribe, I'm recording what Kim HD said. So when I want to record what someone says, I type, oh, sorry, that first one is wrong. So I type alias : what they said. So I'm the scribe, I'm saying Kim HD, first we'll do agenda review. And I'm, in general, during a normal meeting, you would not worry about being this verbose. I'm just trying to demonstrate as I go. As chair, I'm saying, okay, and then next we'll do introductions and reintroductions. So now me as scribe can type ... So, and what that means is that's a continuation of the previous speaker. So that saved me from having to write this part again. Okay, now as chair, I'm talking again. So next in the agenda is tell us about your day. So Kim HD scribe will say, Kim HD, tell us about day. So sorry, this is very meta right now. Okay, so let's do introductions and reintroductions. So that's Kim Chair talking. Kim Scribe is going to write topic introductions and reintroductions. And that is this command that the scribe usually does. So topic and then text, and those will correspond to these outer bullet points, like, you know, introductions, tell us about your day, which would normally be like, we're going to talk about the DID spec or something. Okay, I'm going to call on Ken to introduce yourself.
Hi, this is Ken. I'm working with the Sovereign Foundation as an architect and standards engineer.
I'm sorry, as architect, I was distracted. Architect and what?
Standards engineer.
Okay. So as scribe, I just typed in Ken. I see his alias is Ken over here. And then I just typed in what he said. In the real world, you'll notice that a lot of people will heavily abbreviate, and that's fine as long as you get the main points across. So now me as chair will say, okay, thank you. That's it for introductions and reintroductions. Also as chair, I'm going to call on Sam to tell us about your day.
This morning I woke up and went to my favorite hike at Runyon with my dog, and then I had a meeting with my head of communications. Now scribe training.
Very, very meta. Okay, so I'm abbreviating that. But yeah, so that's essentially all that we're doing. There are some more kind of advanced commands that we enter in here, like for, you know, if there's noise on the call, things like that. But generally as chair, as scribe, your main focus is, you know, just trying to record these things, like especially these last two things. If you happen to miss, you know, the topic things, if you remember and get to it, otherwise someone will generally notice and fill it in. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And we do encourage people to, you know, just speak. If you're scribing and you have any questions, say about who's talking or repeat what was said, feel free to speak up. Everyone knows it's a very difficult task. So we're very encouraging of questions. Okay, so I'm going to end the meeting, and the next pass through, I'm going to call on a different set of people. Does anyone have any questions before I do that?
I have a question. It's more about a general question about IRC.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when scribe or not scribe writes, for example, voice IP and then noise question mark? Is it visible for all? So any command?
Oh, sorry. Like any of the voice commands, like
yes.
Like that. Yeah, everyone should be able to see it.
Okay.
Did I get that right? You know what? Maybe I'm wrong about that, because I was wondering about, oh, maybe there's no colon. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with this, but I was actually wondering because I noticed in the instructions it says VoIP number, but I thought it was connection. So I think usually this should...
Maybe VoIP is connections, because we have this command to give us I don't know how it's called, to give our aliases to
right. Yeah, and that's this one. Usually connections would give me a list of, you know, people dialed in, but you're right, like the part where you associate, you know, voice channel with an alias is, you know, normally you would see like 3, whatever is Kim HD, but this list would have been provided by typing VoIP connections, and I don't know why that's not working right now, but yeah.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah.
Also about IRC. What does it mean when people write present plus? Why do we do this? What does it do?
Right.
What does it
That's
do?
something I realized I left out. And I need to update. I'll make a note to update these instructions. So we like people to do that because okay, so in the minutes that are published, I think it's, let me go back here. And that's the next part of the publishing minutes. That's quite obscure. Let me go here. Okay, let's look here. Okay, so in the August 14th meeting, so note this attendees list, like the present thing. The way that gets determined is, okay, I think there's a big script that does it that I'm only slightly familiar with. But really what that's doing is it's looking through a combination of who said something. Yeah, I think it's mostly who was speaking to determine this list. If that means if people don't speak, then we don't necessarily know we're there unless someone else is noticing over here. So we like people to do present plus so that we can get accurate accounting here. And then that way that script will go just, you know, match you up. And yeah, so that's another part of minutes generation. If, for example, someone new joined, we have an alias mapping JSON file that script looks at to sort of resolve to whichever links you see here.
Because I've noticed that some people write present plus and then their name. So it's like it's to connect alias to name.
Both are supported. So I think it was because I got confused. So I added support for both. So I think at first the script required you say that, but then I mistakenly told people to write present plus. And then I realized, okay, well, I have their alias anyway. So both variants are supported.
And no, but I've noticed that not alias, but present plus. And for example, my alias is Drabiv, but for example, last meeting I wrote present plus Bogdan Andreev because I've noticed that someone before me wrote like that. So I thought maybe that's how it should be.
Oh, okay. So actually, let me bring that up a second, because that is one of the weirder areas when scribing. Like you can get confused about what to type in even. So let me go there 1 second. Okay. Let me open here. Okay, all that I'm showing right now, this is post scribing. So I'm only providing this for context so that you know, like, what's the deal with the aliases you're supposed to type in. We have this people.json mapping. So for example, we are aware of a certain set of aliases or you know, names for a person. I think Manu added some smarts to say, like, if it doesn't find an alias, it will fall back and try to match on names. I've not really seen that work consistently. So I try to use people's IRC IDs, and for the most part, you can find them this way. But yeah, if there's any doubt, and you know, so one, feel free to ask, but two, we'll catch it when we generate the minutes, because we'll get a warning that says we didn't find this person, and then so what we do generally here is go update the mapping. So like that happened for Kalia recently. So we add multiple things.
Okay, and last question from me is what happens when someone is writing into IRC themselves? Does it go to agenda or not? Or I mean to minutes? Does it go to minutes?
That's true. So unless you type this prefix me, because if I did that, you'll see it here, but it won't go in the minutes. So the script is understanding what to trim out of that. But if I typed blah, blah, like that would go in the minutes. And so that means that catches commentary as well, which we like to do. It's a way for people to add their own commentary without being on the, you know, without having to speak it.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So let's do another pass through before going. Actually, does anyone volunteer to scribe before I start it? I don't want to call on someone who's not comfortable doing it yet.
Let me try. This is Ken.
Okay, great. Okay, so this is Kim as chair. I am starting a call of the Credentials Community Group. IP note, blah, blah, blah. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna call on you in just a second, so don't worry about it yet. Yeah, so IP note, blah, 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 queuing in IRC, you know how it works. Connections check in scribe selection. Any volunteers? And Ken, you can speak up.
I volunteer.
Cool, okay. I'm gonna say this, okay. And now you can start scribing. So, okay, for the agenda today, we're gonna do introductions and reintroductions, and then we're going to hear about someone's day. Let's see. So introductions and reintroductions. Let me call on Bowden. Bowden, can you tell us about yourself?
Yes, hi, sure. I'm Bogdan Andreev. I work in Valid Book Foundation and Valid and Software Development. And my work that is connected to CCG Group is mostly related to Valid Book. Valid Book is a universal platform for cooperation. And for its work, it uses verifiable credentials and DADs.
Great, thank you. So Ken, I'm waiting just a second. How's that going? Oh, excellent. And the one thing I noticed is that this is a good.
I couldn't find his name in the list.
Yeah, he's hard. So let's see. I'm trying to remember. There's a thing people do. Let's see. Okay, so you typed Bowden.
So I can just type my name.
Yeah.
So I still see an alias for that in the list of attendees.
It's here. And you would only know that just by learning the hard way too. So what happened here is if this is commonly done by someone else.
Should have looked more like this. Something like that.
Yes, exactly. But even if you did this, it's okay, because you can either do that if it's pointed out, or someone else will do it usually, or we'll catch it after. But that's a good, you know, we make mistakes all the time, so it's a nice way to quickly catch it, and then it's easy for the people you know, for the people publishing to quickly just do those replacements. Okay.
It would have been appropriate for me to say Drabiv or Bowden. I don't see your alias. What's your alias?
Definitely, yes. And then at that point, like it might have been helpful for him to type it in or something, or someone would say that, you know.
Okay.
Or, and it, you know, even better, they would just type this for you as well, but then tell you that just for future reference. It can be hard to remember everyone, in fact. So, you know, I think now it's less of a problem, but it's really hard to associate voices with aliases. So feel free to ask for guidance anytime. Okay, so for the next topic, I don't want to call on Sam again. So Bowden, I'm sorry, I'm going to call on you. So tell us about your day.
Yes, so today it was quite a usual day. From at the morning I was doing my let's say general work, and then I updated actually the paper about verifiable credentials with the idea. Not the idea, with the motivation that verifiable credentials are required in verifiable credentials because of legal perspective. So,
excellent.
Yeah.
And on a personal note, thank you for doing that, by the way. I look forward to reading it. Great. Okay, so that was a great short call of the Credentials Community Group, and we are done. And so just note, Ken, there's really nothing to do. There's, you know, you don't have to do anything to sort of wrap it up. So then the magic behind the scenes is that Digital Bazaar has stuff recording all of this, and all of the minute generation and voice recording and all of that is just handled before you. You don't have for you, and you don't have to worry about it. Would anyone like to do another pass through? Sam, would you like to scribe, or Bowden?
Yeah, I can scribe.
Okay, great. So I'll call on you when I want you to start scribing.
I'd be happy to. Sorry, I just couldn't find my unmute button, but yeah, next time, sure.
Excellent. Okay, welcome to the CCG group. Today's agenda is here. Okay, IP note, you know how it goes. Queuing in IRC, also you know how that goes. Okay, now I'm going to do a connections check and scribe selection. Scribe, Bowden, would you mind scribing?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I can scribe.
I'm going to enter you. Great. Okay, for the agenda today, first we'll start with introductions and reintroductions. And then next, we're going to hear about someone's day. Okay, first for introductions and reintroductions, Sam, can you reintroduce yourself?
Yes, hi, sorry. I'm Sam Gates. I'm the founder of Venn Agency and the soon-to-be started Venn Accelerator, which is focused on developing people first in cyber edge technology, cybersecurity, identity, and spatial computing. So that's what brought me to the IDs in particular, and how I can bring those into edge cases and mesh networks.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us. And next, for the next topic, oh, sorry, was someone speaking?
It was me. I didn't manage to catch all. So.
Yeah, and that's fine. People rarely catch everything. So yeah, especially in introductions, people don't manage to catch it all, as long as you sort of roughly call out name, who they are, and then just best guess on the other stuff. Okay, next topic. I'm going to ask Ken to tell us about his day.
Hi, this is Ken. My day started off unusually. We're evacuated from a fire zone. So I was able to get to work on time and attended a call around agents.
Excellent. Okay, that concludes today's CCG call. Thanks everyone for joining us. These are going to
Yeah,
be
so
great.
I didn't catch evacuated from fire. What? I heard that it's unusual, but what was that?
From a fire zone.
From a fire zone?
Yeah, we have a wildfire near our home, and our
Oh.
town was evacuated.
Where are you?
We're in Utah.
Oh, wow. I didn't know there were. Wow. I'm sorry. Are you, is everything okay now?
We'll find out in about a week.
Okay. Yikes.
Yes, I'm sorry.
But it does make for an unusual day.
Yes. And juicier minutes than I expected. Let's see. Okay. You want to do another pass through with Sam scribing?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Thanks for joining us. This is the Credentials Community Group. I am posting the agenda here. I want to give start with the IP note. Anyone can participate. You know the rest. To Q and IRC, just use these instructions here. Next, I'm going to do a connections check and scribe selection. Sam, would you mind scribing today?
I'd love to.
Thank you. Okay, first I'll review the agenda. Next, we'll do introductions and reintroductions. And then finally, we'll hear about someone's day. Okay, introductions and reintroductions. Sorry, I have to call on someone again. Oh, Q+. Do you have to do anything with the Q? Okay, I'm gonna call. Okay, so that's a good point, Ken. Sam, don't worry about scribing right now. Ken, what is your question?
Does the scribe have to do anything with the queue, either the people who are inserting themselves from the queue or actually speaking from the queue?
No, you can rely on the chair to do that. They should be doing that sort of accounting. So if you personally want to speak up and add yourself to the queue, you can do that, and someone will scribe for you. Someone will just volunteer and take over.
Thank you.
No problem. Let's see. Oh, and also when I typed @Ken, that removed you from the queue, so it should be an empty queue now. Okay, Sam, you can resume scribing. For introductions and reintroductions, I'll reintroduce myself. I am Kim Duffy. I am one of the chairs of the Credentials Community Group. And I really appreciate you guys being here today. It's very helpful to have people helping out with these sorts of community tasks. Sam, how's it going?
Good.
Oh, there you go. Excellent, thanks. Okay, and then next topic is I'll tell you about my day. Let's see, I woke up later than usual, took my dog for a walk, had some meetings, and here I am. Okay, And that concludes today's CCG call. Thanks everyone for joining. Does anyone have any questions before we're technically, you know, we've all done the scribing part. For publishing minutes, I want to warn you that it's, you may not be interested in it. I'll keep the call going and record it just in case anyone wants to see it later. But if you get overwhelmed at any point and you drop off, it's totally fine. Or if you want to drop off now. But before we get into minutes publishing, were there any other questions about scribing?
No further questions.
I have a general question. So why do we write this scribe colon, topic colon? Is it then automatically parsed?
That's right. Let's see. I may have removed it from here, but let's see. I'm trying to get to a quick link. Okay, what this script does, oh wait, no, it's in this repo. Meetings. So last meeting, you'll notice that we didn't do it. And if I were, how do you say, if I weren't as lazy as I am, I would have gone back through and tried to add the topic colon things, but I was just trying to get them out. So, but yeah, in August 14th, we were doing better. And so, yeah, what happened is the script that creates the minutes, it's looking through for topic colon and then just pasting whatever thing in front of it. So it helps just for the overall organization. And I should probably go back at some point and clean up this other one, but that just makes everything a lot easier. And yeah, I think like pretty much everything that is something colon, it gets used by these scripts to add metadata at the top. When one thing I wanted to mention, when you do the ... thing, this is how it gets grouped. So, you know, it's clear it's still associated with that speaker.
Is this fairly easy?
Any other questions?
Would this be fairly easy to deploy in my own organization? This sort of minute thing?
Okay, I just want to make sure you can still hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Kim, I cannot hear you right now.
Oh crap! Sorry, I muted it somehow when I was messing around there. Sorry about that. I have myself muted for like a minute or two. Sorry. Was there anything going on that I missed?
No.
Okay.
We only missed about the last 10 seconds.
Okay. Let's see. So yeah, I think the last thing I was saying is if you use a ... syntax, this is how it gets grouped in the rendered minutes. So next, I will, if no further questions, I'll move on to publishing minutes. And again, as I mentioned, feel free to drop off. This will be a live demo. So because there's setup work involved, it's a little challenging to follow along. So I'm just going to talk to the setup work that I do and then show the steps that I do. And yeah. So if you have to drop off at any point, thanks again for joining. It's really helpful to have you guys here. Okay, for publishing the minutes, this involves setup, and I have all of the instructions here. I'm very interested in, at some point, if anyone has suggestions for making this easier. So a lot of people, when, you know, on the CCG calls, ask, like, why is it so complicated? Why do we have to do the dial-in number in, you know, IRC and all of that? And the short answer is that the W3C has certain requirements. Manu's gone to a lot of trouble to get everything working in a way that fits those requirements. I think it's highly possible. You know, I spent quite a bit of time to improve the automation, to reduce the manual steps, but it's just one of those things. You know, I'm sort of at the limit of the time I can invest in improving the scripts further. But as I go, you'll see several points that, you know, maybe it could be automated further. You know, maybe, you know, if someone were motivated to stand up services to help out with this, you know, it could be made a lot easier. So what I'll do is just walk through it, and as I go, maybe just talk about the kinds of things that could be automated. The main part that we start with is, you know, the meeting information is in a GitHub repo. Let's see, so I have, and you don't have to work along, I've cloned it here. So it has all the meetings ever done. It has some scripts, and this is actually the thing that I showed over here before. So I've synced this repo. I might have to redo my screen a bit. Okay, so there's a config file that where you set various settings, like which editor you want to use. You know, I use Sublime here. Which video, or sorry, audio editor you want to use. And then there's these other steps where you create, where you enable API access. So when you see tweets about, you know, the CCG minutes are here, the script is actually tweeting for us as well. So I acknowledge there's a lot of setup. I think only 3 of us have actually gone through it at the point, but it's much better because at least, you know, before it was only Manu that could do it. So now we have 3 folks. Okay, so that's the setup. And for this, I would recommend, if anyone's wanting to walk through it, just ping the CCG alias, and any of us that have already set up will walk you through it. Also, if you have any suggestions about things we can do to make it better, like one thing I've considered is, you know, why don't we have a CCG Twitter account? I don't know if we can do that, but you know, that would be super nice to have something like that, and then, you know, use the same API token. That's just one example. So in the, I now need to get things going side by side. Okay. So now I'm going to show how I generate the minutes. So I've done my setup. I only had to do that one time. And so I'm going to start by downloading the audio and the text minutes. What I'm going to do is download the ones for Tuesday, which I intentionally held off doing until now. So we'll be doing it on a real set. Okay, if I did it on Tuesday, I would have just been able to say download raw minutes. Because it's Friday, I need to specify which day. So that was September 18th. So I type it in like this. And this part's the audio recording part takes a while. The part up here in the setup where we changed a audio editor, we're going to use that to reduce the size, among other things. then, okay, so what happens while this is going is it's creating these files in here. While the WAV file is downloading, I go ahead and start cleaning up this file. And this is where things are still pretty messy, and I would love for us to invest some more time in improving. So this tool is another thing Manu and company created. It's a good way to start visualizing what the minutes will look like. So I can tell already this looks pretty good. You know, I have some topics here. I have participants. I may have to, just as a workaround until we get everyone typing present plus, we have a sort of, you can do a batch present plus for people who are generally attending, but, you know, maybe didn't type it. So we typically do that now. One thing that's not exactly clear to me is, you know, sometimes if there's a lot of, you know, sort of joking, which usually I'm responsible for, like shenanigans or something, then I'll remove them if I failed to do it in -me mode. You know, I want to try to keep them somewhat professional. Let's see, but what I'm looking for here is just any kind of anomalies. So what will stand out to me is, okay, some of these I just don't know what to do with, like, let's see, yep. Oh, I have wrong matching on. Okay, I don't know why it did not record her. Oh, okay, it could be because the alias isn't noted correctly. I'm going to copy that and, okay, so this is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for either unmapped statements, or sometimes you'll get it flagged saying, here's an alias I didn't recognize. I don't see an example of that right here. So, but it would be like a highlighted box saying Kalia _ is not recognized. So anytime you see an unrecognized, you know, sort of alias, then what you can do is update that alias mapping file that I had. So that is in Scribe tool people.json. So I'm going to look at Kalia and see if I have that alias, and I don't. So because this is running, you know, this is a script that's running, you know, a client side, that one doesn't know about this file, but when I generate them, you know, the tool will pick up this updated mappings and then also check in the mapping so that in the future, this tool will know how to find it. So let's see. Okay, and actually, I think all of these that I'm seeing, yeah, I think all of these will be addressed with the Kalia mapping. Yep. Okay, so what I was trying to do there was address the things in italics which weren't associated with a person. So, you know, just doing your best effort there is great. Okay, I think we're good on these minutes. The only thing I'll do is this little fix that we have for capturing people that we know were there, but or we highly believe were there. Sorry, unstable connection, but you know, we're not necessarily represented. So, sorry, I'm messing with my volume up here. Okay. So, and then this is where, as a meeting recorder, you're sort of using your best effort. Like, I don't think this person was there, or this person. I am pretty sure everyone else was there. So this is an imprecise thing. And then note that I could have done it when the call was still connected, but I'm manually mucking with, it doesn't feel good, but yes, I'm manually mucking with the date, time stamp, just so that they'll appear in the minutes, or rather just so that they'll appear in this list. So like, for example, Chris Boscolo was on the call, but he didn't appear here as with some of these other people. So I'm going to save that. What I was doing there is, so actually I did these out of order. So these two steps include editing the downloaded minutes and basically cleaning them up. So I started with number 2 because the text file was already downloaded. I cleaned up, well, actually, sorry, I did not have to clean up the log by doing anything besides adding this entry. So what I did was I saved the file that got downloaded directly. I added this to account for the unaccounted for people. If there was any other cleanup necessary, like, okay, actually, this is something I did not check. If someone typed in okay, I need a better search term. If someone typed in a replacement string, I would also do that here. So I should update the instructions with that. I'm going to do that now. Okay, so those are some tips here. I did not find any replacements that need to be made. Actually, I just happened to notice something here. I'm going to, it probably won't make a difference for the minutes, but a lot of times people will type commands out of order and it just gets a little wonky in the rendered minutes. Okay, so I finished, again, I'm down here publishing the minutes. I'm in the edit section. Okay, so I did step 2, which is cleaning up IRC. And next I'm going to edit the WAV file that I downloaded. I use, and I included this in the instructions, I use Audacity. And no strong reasons for that really, besides the fact of, I think the license and it supported the output format that I wanted. So going back to here, note that, when I did download raw minutes, I got the IRC log and I got the WAV file, which I don't want to be clicking on here. I want to open this in my audio editor. So okay, I just navigate to this location. Audacity has this option to read the file directly or make a copy. It's probably not a best practice. I do it directly because the audio cleanup it's pretty straightforward. And I just try to be very careful not to mess up. If I did mess up, it's not the end of the world because I can just download the WAV file again by saying download raw minutes, that same command. What we're looking for here is removing the beginning and the end part. This part, it also seems like we could easily automate this, whether it's, some kind of, sound editor that's sort of looking for the change. And what I'm going to point out here is, let's see if you can hear it. Okay, so you're hearing the people dial in. and blank space. And that's because the recording is starting before the hour, just to make sure it catches everything, moving it along a little bit. So you hear my voice, which I hate. So, and then also after it drops off,
thanks everyone.
You'll start hearing those other drop off.
Thanks for the call.
So our goal here, our goal here is to trim off the beginning and end so that, you know, we just start into the meeting and at the end. It's also useful in cases like, I think we had a instance recently where the line got really bad. Everyone was forced to reconnect. So we also use the opportunity to just restart with a clean slate so that there's not a whole lot of garbage on the call. So what I do here is I'm just manually identifying a good starting point. I try to skip over all my ums at the beginning.
I'm going to try to figure out the general problem, but for now, the agenda is here.
And for Audacity, I zoom in. And what I generally do is try to record as of the IP release part. So there's usually a lot of dead space.
I think people are still joining, but I'll go ahead and start with the IP note.
Okay, so I had it. Oh, oops, 1 second. Okay, I lost my place. 1 more second.
A quick note on queuing in IRC.
What?
I think people are still joining, but I'll go ahead and start with the IP note.
Okay, so it was 9 minutes and 26 seconds in. And again, you don't really have to, sorry, the usability is a little bit off sometimes, but this is just how Audacity does it. So I can see the end selection, and I'm dragging it to 9 minutes 26-ish. And it's okay if it's not exact, if it's a little bit before. For example, just do your best. Then I go to the end, do the same. Okay. Oops.
Do a 10 can. Thanks everyone, and thanks Drummond for getting us up to speed on this.
Yeah, I'm going to be tied up next week too for the same reason I can't be rebooting. So yeah, I would go that way too.
Okay, so we're going to cancel next week, but the week after we'll resume. Thanks everyone.
Okay, so wait a second.
I was just going to say that.
I lost my place.
We'll resume. Thanks everyone.
Thanks again. Thanks everyone.
Okay, so I'll just chop it at 57. You don't need all the thank yous at the end, but just because this is not, oops, okay. And if I make a mistake, I can reset it through here. So actually I'm gonna try to drag backwards. Okay, we'll call that good enough. Now what I'm going to do is export, and this actually, let me just point you to the instructions. So it mentions saving as .waver.ogg. Manu always uses OGG, and so I do too. And yeah, I think in any case, the minutes, I think the script generator seems to expect that. So yeah, that's just sort of the easiest way to go. Okay, where is it? Okay, so I'm going to export as OGG. I need to make sure it's in the right folder. Oops. Remembering that there's a lot of files here. And you want to rename it to audio.ogg as it mentions here. So audio.ogg. I'm saving it to September 18th. And yeah, sometimes I'm motivated to do this, usually not. It's exporting it, Okay, now all we have to do is publish them. So I actually don't know why it said back up and then go to Scribe Tool. We're in the root. I'll fix that. So CD the Scribe Tool. Then you say publish -D and then point to the folder that you just created or that you've just been editing. So it's this one. So I'm going to say publish -D 98. Okay. And the few changes I did add were mostly around adding breakpoints so that you can preview before it publishes. Okay, and note that it tells me it didn't find an alias, so this is something that I missed, but it's not too late. I can go back into the people.json, which is Dan_Burnett. Okay, so usually he goes by Burn, or it looks like we had a Burn underscore once. I'm going to add this, and then next time I run it, it will work out. However, this is a gross part. When I have to rerun it, sometimes I notice that the diffs get messed up. So what I try to do here is see, okay, was anything edited for get the things that you worry about are any of the index files. So the Scribe tool, this publish script, it will also modify this outer index.html. So I'm going to say get checkout index.html just to get a clean diff. And that's something that, if that sounds nasty, it is. We probably can easily improve the script to fix that up. For now, I just recheck out the index files to make sure they get generated correctly. So oops. Okay, actually, let me just delete it. It's not checked in yet, of course. Okay, so let's go back to the Scribe tool, and I'm going to run the same command. Okay, publish -D and then the folder. Okay, note this time that I didn't get this warning. So, but what I still want to do is preview, sorry, one second, is preview the results over here just to make sure. So what I'm looking for here is the publish tool will have updated this, basically the main file. One thing I noticed, but I'm not going to sweat it this time because I don't want to have to recheck out the files, is that I don't have all the topics I expected. So if I were paying attention more closely in the Scribe tool use, I would have looked to see, okay, are there, and I think you should generally expect, 6 topics. Like this one looks accurate. So introductions, agenda review, announcement reminders, action items, work items, and then whatever was the main topic for the day. So you would expect something like this. As you can see, we do not always manage to do that. So just make your best effort. And but otherwise, so then we can go to this page. It'll work out in the release site. But otherwise, this looks good to me. So I'm going to say, go ahead and publish. So type yes. It's going to ask me what text I want to accompany the tweet. So, okay, so note that it's sending the email first. And then now it's going to tweet for me because I set up the API token. On this call, our focus was DID spec. So you can get it from here. And just type it without quotes. So enter the tweet context. DID specification. That's good enough. So I'll press enter. It published it. Everything went out. So the one other thing I have to check, the tool, so if I type get status, the tool is committing the index file, index.html. It's uploading that OGG file. It's not committing, it's basically the GitHub, the settings, the git ignore settings. You know, we're ignoring these WAV files. So we don't want those checked in because those are huge. But the script is not checking this file. Oops, sorry. So I want to check it in explicitly. Let's just say updated aliases. Okay, and then this is a GH pages branch. So we say get push origin, GH pages. And that will make sure that the aliases are updated too. It may be a bit before you see the released version. Let's see. Okay. So it just takes a while for, this is a GitHub pages thing. It takes a while to see the update over here, but you know, we could tell from the Git history, for example, that it has been committed. In fact, let me show you where to find that. Well, let's go. Okay, right here. Okay, and here's the commit. Well, this one is the updating alias commit. This is the one that checked in the bulk of the stuff. So there's my audio file, the inner index file and log file, it stores those two, and the outer index file, which is that sort of main landing page. So we see the commit is here, so we know it will be updated. Okay, so it'll be there eventually. I'm not worried about it. The tweet was sent out, the mail was sent out, and then we're done publishing minutes. So clearly there's a lot of opportunities for improved automation. While I personally am not having time to invest in it, I'm very happy to talk to anyone about, you know, bouncing around ideas about how it can be improved. Did anyone have any questions?
I have a question. Will these scripts work in Windows?
It should work on Windows, but it's not actually been tested by anyone. We tried to generalize the scripts, and some of the settings are what you can modify in the publishing.cfg file. So in addition, and that's covered in the setup instructions, but in addition to things like passphrases or API tokens, that's where you would set certain platform-specific paths. If you're trying it out and you have any problems with getting it to work, just let us know. Any other questions before we drop off? And thanks for staying late as well.
Thank you for this training presentation. It's been
Great. Thank you very much.